every record that I do, my creative process for maybe the past decade and a half has been, I vomit out material until I hit something that seems to resonate with a part of that era that I feel needs to be articulated through sound. And it would be nice if I was more aware of how that worked, but it's really about throwing things into the void, and then eventually I'll be like, oh, that actually reminds me of what I'm going through right now. And then I start to mine that vein, and then eventually, if I'm lucky, I get an album out of it. Sometimes you'll only get 3 songs, and then you've just run out of inspiration. So by doing that, I end up with tons and tons of songs, like every time. And because I record constantly, and because I'm reasonably adept at recording, I can have these songs that seem reasonably finished. And so there was like Epic Louder and Casualties of Cooler and Test of Manhood, and all these secondary records come out now. And Nightwork is the secondary record to Lightwork. And I think what it serves as maybe a passive listener's point of view is how confused I was, because I was just writing all this stuff. But what defines a record for me is if I can create a vibe, like if I can create something that when I listen back to it, it puts me in a certain frame of mind, or it allows the audience to participate in that. So Casualties of Cool, for example, like that record, when I put it on, it's like I feel a certain way. Ocean Machine, when I put it on, I feel a certain way. And if it's just a collection of songs, it hasn't succeeded as a record for me. So Nightwork is like, shows how disjointed my life was. I lost myself to a certain degree during the last couple of years. And to have a producer for the first time, and it's not like I was going into this going, well, I'm going to find a producer and we're going to make a commercial record. Like, Garth's a friend, and he has been for a long time, and he lives near me. And we've been talking about doing something together for so long, and then we were stuck living near each other. And I was like, can you help me? I've written 50 songs and I'm lost. And he was like, okay, well, let me hear what you've written. And I play it, and then he'd be like, okay, that, and fair play to him. Everybody has their own tastes. So as opposed to him trying to streamline the work in accordance to some sort of agenda, he was like, okay, of these songs, I like this one, this one, this one, this one. And he would say, this one would be cool, but maybe we can try doing this to it. And because I was lost to a degree, I was open to giving that a shot. And I think our relationship between him and I, it's fortunate that we care for each other, because it was very difficult. I've produced and mixed everything in my career, basically. And then to have somebody else come in and say, this is what I feel, was very difficult for me. However, I asked him to do that. It's not like he was like, he was like, you asked me to do this. This is my opinion. And Nightwork acts as almost like a showcase for what was going on. So here's a bunch of shit. Here's a bunch of songs that I've got going on. And if you were a producer, and you were presented all these things, this would be like the smorgasbord of things to choose from. And a song like Children of God, for example, you'll hear on Lightwork, its intent by the end was a very straightforward, sort of hypnotic, beat never changes, and it's a really cool vibe. But then you hear the demo and it's all over the place. It's all over the place. And there's some people that will listen to that and say, oh, I prefer that. I prefer that sort of frenetic thing. But frankly, I didn't. And I had written all this material, and I was thinking to myself, like, what about this isn't holding my attention? And it wasn't until I was deep in it that I was aware that I didn't want that chaos. Although it's what I had written in response to it, it's not what I wanted to come out of this with. I wanted to come out of it having grown. I wanted to come out of it having learnt. I wanted to come out of it with a lot of things. And the things that I didn't expect to come out of it, which I did, were surprising to me, and were a result of having to fight for my work and to stand up for the things that I wanted and the things that I didn't want. And a lot of that made me realize like how much of my work has been based around, maybe not the work, but how much of my trip has been based around people pleasing for as long as I can remember, just like wanting to make people happy. And at the end of it, I was like, I have to be happy with this. I have to be happy with this on my own side. And by the time Lightwork was done, because I ended up mixing it and I ended up finishing it, I was happy with it, but I had to learn a lot in order to get to the point where I was able to make those steps. And Nightwork acts as a portal into the process, I guess.